All right, what's up, bookworms? I've got a different kind of video for you today than I usually have. This one is in a book review. I was at the bookstore the other day and I was thinking about how, times are kind of tough economically, socially, what have you, and entertainment, much like everything else, is only seemingly getting more and more expensive. And books are no exception to that, right? A brand new hardback book can sometimes be like $32, and even a brand new paperback can be like 16 bucks. And the thing is with like especially like with the paperbacks, I mean, some of those are reprints that came out years ago, right? That makes no sense to me why they should be so much. And I'm lucky that, for the most part, I can buy a brand new book when I want to. And I still think that a book is probably the best return on investment as far as entertainment value goes. Because, especially for me, a good book will last me 3 or 4 weeks for, 25, $30 for a new hardback. And in the case of like when I bought Lonesome Dove, I mean, I think I read Dove over 2 months. And I think I got it for like $25, and that was years ago, but still the point stands is that, but not everyone is able to do that, right? And I was like, well, there are libraries, but also not everyone has access to a robust library system like I do. And then I thought, well, there are also used bookstores, and where I live, there happen to be quite a few pretty good used bookstores around. But even that's not always a given. And so I was like, well, what else is there? And I thought there is it's probably has a little more access to a lot of people because it's backed by a large chain, and that's Second and Charles. It's sort of a used bookstore, but it also has new books and has other things. It sells records and comic books and movies too. It's kind of a catch-all for any type of entertainment stuff, I suppose. And because it's backed by Books a Million and owned by them, it might have a little more reach. And ooh, you can tell it's raining outside where I'm at right now. Um, so anyway, I decided I was gonna take $20, go into Second and Charles, and see what I could come out with. And I had three goals in mind. Goal number one was to get something off my TBR list. Goal number two was to pick up something brand new that I'd never heard of or read before. And then number three was to pick up a classic of some kind. And that was so I could kind of get the whole spectrum of what people might be looking for, right? So, and if you've never been into a Second and Charles or are familiar with one, basically the premise kind of is that you can bring in books and sell them to them, and then they resell them to people like me who get them cheaper. And a funny thing that I saw at my local one is recently someone must have either inherited or someone got tired of their collection, or who knows why, but there was an entire aisle of just James Patterson. And look, I've never read a James Patterson. I don't have any desire to, but I mean, it was literally the entire aisle with like a walkway in between the two sections of the aisle. It was just one James Patterson after another. And it wasn't like it was just a top row. It was several, rows on the bookshelves of James Patterson. And I mean, look, I know the guy is like one of, if not the most prolific writers of all time. And look, he uses ghostwriters. He even admits that. But, credit where credit is due. The guy can just, I mean, in one way or another, he's churning out books every single month. And I think every single one of those books was on this shelf here. I mean, just nothing but James Patterson. It was quite impressive to the point where I almost didn't believe it. And most of them didn't look like they were repeats either. That was also astounding. But I digress. Back to the list. So first was a book on my TBR list, and I picked up a copy of The Devil in the White City by Eric Larson. I've been wanting to read this for a while, honestly, since it came out, and it came out. I should have looked this up beforehand. 2003. So this has been on my TBR list for like 22 years. And you tell I'm a little behind. I'm a little behind on my books. 22 years this book has been out, but I didn't go in looking for this. I was looking for anything on my TBR list, and I was walking through the history section, which kind of got me thinking about this because this is a historical fiction novel. It's based upon real events that happened in like the 1920s, I believe, in Chicago surrounding the World's Fair. There was a series of like murders and whatnot. The interesting thing was is I didn't find this in the sections that I thought. Like when I was in the history section, it made me think about it, and it wasn't there. And then it wasn't in the fiction section, and so I was like, well, where else could it possibly be? And I had kind of given up on finding it when I happened to be walking by the biography section, and there it was in all its glory. I don't know if I would put this in the biography section, but maybe that's why I was able to get a copy of it because, I mean, it's sort of a biography, I guess, but it's like I said, it's based upon real events that happen, and they have been storyalized because we're making up new words every day. It's been storyalized into this book. So very excited to read this. I honestly probably won't get to it for a while, but nonetheless, picked it up and it was $7.90. Next up was a book that I never heard of before, and obviously have never read if I've never heard of it. And I picked this up purely based upon the cover because it kind of looks like a Far Side cartoon, and it's called Jack Sprat Investigates the Fourth Bear, and it's by Jasper Ford. Now I have read Jasper Ford before, but I didn't realize that he had written this until after I'd picked it up and read the little, the little inside flap thing here. Basically, this is it's part of a series called A Nursery Crime, but it's not like a series where each book is just telling the same story. These are all independent stories from what I can kind of gather from the little bit of research that I did. And they're kind of these whimsical retellings with like crime investigations of nursery rhymes. So like this one is Goldilocks has gone missing, and Jack Sprat basically surmises that it can't just be three bears. There must be a fourth bear involved with the porridge and everything. Anyway, it sounded kind of fun and just like something I would enjoy. And the fact that it's part of a series, maybe I found a new series inadvertently that I'll read more books of. Who knows? I also got really taken in by the back here that has the gingerbread man in a straitjacket. So kind of had to pick it up. And $6.95. Last up is a classic, and I enjoy classics quite a bit. I've read a lot of Hemingway, and I also love Dickens and Kerouac and Jane Austen. I remember reading Jane Austen in like middle school, which is kind of insane, I think, for anyone in middle school to be reading Jane Austen, but I did. And I love her work to this day. But my favorite of the classic authors is John Steinbeck. I think Steinbeck is the quintessential American author. I've read quite a bit of his work, but this is The Red Pony. I've never read this before, or honestly, even heard of this story. And I'm sure that somewhere some Steinbeck authority is like, how have you never heard of The Red Pony? Well, look, man, there's a lot of books, okay? I don't have time to learn about every single book. I just read them as I find them. But anyway, I love Steinbeck, and this is really short. This is less than 100 pages. Leads me to believe this is probably from like a short story collection at one time that got separated into a separate novel, novella, or maybe it was from a magazine anthology at some point and then got collected into a standalone little book. This is just a little penguin paperback, and you can't really go wrong with a little Steinbeck. Nothing really more American than Steinbeck, I don't think. And this was $5.95. And if you're keeping track at home, you'll know that we missed our goal of $20 by 80 cents. In total, everything came out to $20.80. But I'm still going to count that as a win. It's kind of the whole point here is to just kind of show that, you don't need to spend a lot of money on books to get good ones. These all seem like great books. I know that, for instance, I know this will be great. It's Steinbeck. It'll be great. And the point is, you don't have to spend a lot of money to get great books. The point is to read books, get them wherever you can, whether they're brand new, from a library, from a secondhand store, whatever it may be. Get a book and go read it and have fun, because reading should be fun. Um, if the process of this goes well with editing and comes out the way I'd like, I might do some going into my local privately owned used bookstores and maybe do something there. See what I can go in with, $20 and see what I can come out with and see what I can find because they may have they'll have a different variety than Second and Charles will. So like I said, get a book, go read, have a fun summer reading.